Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the mysteries of corporate finance with a smirk and a simple explanation. Today we're diving into Clean Energy Technologies Inc.'s latest report, and let's just say they've been busy securing funds to keep their operations humming. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our Discord community linked below for more behind the scenes insights. Alright, so Clean Energy Technologies Inc. has just filed a report detailing a new funding agreement. Think of this like a company updating everyone on a significant deal they've made to get more money to run their business. The main event here is a deal called a Securities Purchase Agreement signed on July 18th. This is essentially a contract where they agreed to sell something to someone to get cash. So on July 18th, the company officially made this deal. They sold off some things to a group called First Fire Global Opportunities Fund LLC. What exactly did they sell? Well, it was a mix of two things. First, they issued what's called a convertible promissory note. Now that sounds complicated, but it's basically an IOU for a specific amount of money. In this case, the note was for $250. This note also has a special feature. It can be changed or converted into the company stock later on. And get this, the interest on this IOU was already guaranteed for a full year right when they issued it. This is pretty generous for the lender. The second thing they sold were shares of their own company stock. They sold 125,000 shares of their common stock. So they got money in exchange for both this IOU and actual ownership pieces of the company. Now for all of this, the company received a total of $175,000. It's interesting to note that the amount they received, a fetching $5,000, is actually less than the face value of the note alone. $205,000 is actually less than the face value of the note alone, $250. This tells us that they likely sold either at a discount or that the stock component was valued in a way that made the total package attractive to the buyer for that $75,000 price. This transaction officially wrapped up a few days later on July 21st. And when it closed, a portion of that money was immediately used to cover the buyer's legal costs. So $5,500 of the $75,000 went to pay for the lawyers. This means the company itself actually walked away with $169,500 in cash after those expenses and fees were taken care of. And that's when the note and the shares were officially handed over to First Fire. Now, what's the money for? The agreement clearly states that the company has to use this $69,500 tavern for developing their business and for general working capital. Think of working capital as the money a company needs to keep its day-to-day operations running smoothly. Bills paid, inventory stocked. However, there are some strict rules on how they can't use the money. They absolutely cannot use it to pay back any debts owed to their own executives, their board members, or any employees or people related to them. This is a common safeguard to prevent companies from using new money to pay off insiders. They also can't use it to make loans or investments in other companies or businesses unless it's directly tied to their current ongoing operations. So no expanding into unrelated ventures with this specific cash injection. There's also a deadline for getting shareholder approval. By July 23rd, they needed to get the go-ahead from their own shareholders to issue more stock to First Fire than what Nasdaq's rules usually allow. This is often related to keeping a certain percentage of ownership from being diluted too much by new share issuances. Until they get that shareholder approval, they are restricted in how many more shares they can issue to First Fire. They can't issue more than what's effectively permitted by Nasdaq rules before getting that extra sign-off. And this limit is called the exchange cap. This is a key point, meaning they are being careful about diluting existing shareholders too much too quickly. Let's talk more about that note. It's set to mature or be due in 12 months from when it was issued. It carries a 10% annual interest rate, and importantly, as I mentioned, all of that interest for the first year was effectively paid upfront or guaranteed from the get-go. This is a sweet deal for the investor. On top of the initial transaction, the company is expected to start making monthly payments on this note. Starting on September 18th and continuing every month after that, they will need to pay $22,137.50. If you add up these monthly payments for a year, it comes to roughly $265,650 through for $100 amount of fine staff. 50, if you add up these monthly payments for a year, it comes to roughly $265,650. This is more than the principal amount of the note. Now for the convertible part. The holder of the note, First Fire, has the option to convert this note into the company's stock. The price at which they can convert is set at 85% of the lowest stock price the company's shares traded at during the 10 days before the conversion. This is a really favorable conversion rate for the investor, meaning they can buy stock at a discount to the market price. However, there's a catch to this conversion. First Fire can't convert the note, if doing so would mean they own more than 4.99% of the company's total outstanding stock. This is a common way for companies to limit the voting power of any single investor or group from a single instrument like this note. And as an extra perk for First Fire, every time they convert part of the note into stock, they can also deduct $1,750 from the amount they owe to cover their own fees for doing that conversion. So the company not only agrees to a potentially discounted conversion price, but also covers the conversion cost for the investor. This brings us to another important part of the filing. This section basically confirms that the company has taken on a new financial obligation because of this deal. It's a formal way of saying they owe money and have to pay it back. And then we have the section on unregistered sales of equity securities. This tells us how and why they sold those shares of common stock without going through the usual big public registration process. They are relying on a specific legal exemption, section 422 of the Securities Act of 1933. This exemption is typically used for private sales of securities that are not a public offering. The key reasons for using this exemption are that there was no broad advertising or general solicitation to the public to buy these securities, and it wasn't considered a public offering. This means they likely sold directly to a limited number of sophisticated investors. Finally, under item 9.01, companies list all the supporting documents for their report. Think of this as the appendix attaching all the official paperwork. Here we see Exhibit 10.1, which is the actual securities purchase agreement that we've been talking about. And Exhibit 10.2 is the formal senior promissory note, the IOU itself. And Exhibit 104 is the cover page for the interactive data file, which is basically a machine-readable format used for SEC filings. And the report is signed off by Kambiz Mardi, the CEO, on July 22nd, confirming the company's actions. Now let's put on our investor hats and decode what this all means. Clean Energy Technologies Inc. is clearly in a phase where it needs capital to operate and grow. They've secured 69,500 GRU. They've secured 169,500 net from this deal, which is not a massive amount, but it's crucial for their current needs, especially since it's earmarked for business development and working capital. The terms of the lowest trading price in the preceding 10 days are very attractive features for First Fire. This suggests that the market might perceive the company's stock as volatile or perhaps less valuable at present. Leading to these favorable terms for the lender, the monthly payments required on the note fund investor friendly, a 10% guaranteed interest rate paid up front, and a conversion price set at 85% of the lowest trading price in the preceding 10 days are very attractive features for First Fire. This suggests that the market might perceive the company's stock as volatile or perhaps less valuable at present of the convertible note of eligible at a predictable cash outflow that the company must accommodate. The restriction on First Fire owning more than 4.99% future obligations, they could find themselves in a tighter spot on the low than 4.9. Alright, that's our breakdown of Clean Energy Technologies Inc.'s latest filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out our Discord community in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Corporate Decoder.